Today on Dusty Vision Radio, we're going to discuss one of my favorite rappers of all time. In fact, he is the reason I fell in love with hip hop, specifically West Coast hip hop. I'm talking about Eazy-E, the godfather of gangster rap. More specifically, today we're going to talk about the NWA and the Posse album and the truth behind the single Boyz in the Hood. Classic song. Cause the boys in the hood are always hard. Come talking to trash, we'll pull your card. You know the lyrics. Knowing nothing in life but to be legit. Don't quote me, boy, cause I ain't said, yo, lay Rob. I've interviewed a lot of people on my show who are directly involved with the recording of this song and this classic album. If you would like to go down that rabbit hole, go to YouTube search and type in Dusty Vision, Boyz in the Hood. So let's talk about the late, great Eazy-E. And specifically, the song Boyz in the Hood. I remember hearing Boyz in the Hood for the first time and instantly wanted to hear it again, and hear it again. I would go to my friend's house, Ruben Jimenez. Shout out to Ruben Jimenez. He's still out there. I think he lives in Louisiana now. Shout out to Ruben. He introduced me to Boyz in the Hood. And it was on this tape. First of all, let me rewind it a little bit. Take yourself back to, the mid to late 80s. To hear lyrics like Boyz in the Hood was unheard of. We had the Fat Boys. They were doing cute songs about surfing and they were doing movies and stuff. We had Run DMC. The Kings of Rock, there is none higher. We had LL Cool J. But none of these guys were touching on the subjects that I heard in this song, Boyz in the Hood. My homeboy Ruben Jimenez, Hispanic dude, is the one who ironically introduced me to the group known as Niggas with Attitude. And I remember asking, what does it stand for? And either him or someone around us nonchalantly told me what it stood for. Niggas with Attitude. Just something that I'll always remember for some reason. I was the only black guy amongst a bunch of Hispanics, but there was no racism around it. It was just, they're called Niggas with Attitude and they make great music. Check this out. So I got introduced to NWA by my Hispanic friends. 11 years old, man. My other Hispanic friend, Ramiro, introduced me to Too Short. Right around the same time. So here I am hanging out with my Mexican homies. And they're introducing me, the black kid, to music. Which is why, rewinding back to the 70s, just me experiencing what I experienced with Hispanic, Latino, Chicano homies in the 80s. You can't tell me that in the 70s, Latinos didn't have a helping hand in creating what we know as hip hop today. I will forever thank my Spanish homies who don't get love, but they were right there in the journey. Next to the black dudes in New York, in those parks, they were DJing, they were hitting up on walls, they were graffitiing, they were breakdancing, they were right next to us. But that's a whole other story for a whole other day. The who created hip hop and who did and who was involved in hip hop and who wasn't. Today, it's all about Boyz in the Hood, Eazy-E. So this specific song was supposed to be sung by a group called HBO. Now, you might have saw that in the movie, Straight Outta Compton.
And what's a 6'4"?
Yeah, it's a car. A 6'4" Impala. Ganking is when you jack somebody, man. It's not a big deal to sound.
Yo, man, it's too much cursing for radio play. I mean, besides, who gives a about Compton anyway, right?
Alonzo Williams' studio is where Boyz in the Hood was recorded. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. That scene that you saw in Straight Outta Compton, when they kick those guys out of the studio and then Eazy-E ends up trying to do the song and he can't get it right, so he kicks everybody out of the room and all of that. That all happened right there at my boy Alonzo's studio. He still owns the home to this day. I've been to that studio several times. We used to record our show for like 2 years there until COVID hit.
They came to the studio and they were some New York cats. It was no big deal. And I walked up in the studio. Hey man, your boys is here. And I sat around and kicked it for a minute. I walked back in the house, was walking back upstairs. And they was leaving. They wasn't here maybe an hour, if that long. And I never saw them again. That was it. And I man, what happened? Oh man, they didn't want to do the song. What happened? Man, they ain't know what 6 Foes is. They don't know what that kind of shit is. What? Hey man, and you know, they was from New York. They didn't feel they could represent properly.
The movie Straight Outta Compton had a lot of false to it, a lot of falsities. Just interviewing people, knowing my mentor, Alonzo Williams, one of my very good friends, who is responsible for discovering Eazy-E and NWA and Dr. Dre and Ice Cube. They all went through Alonzo Williams, whom I do have a podcast with every Tuesday on NWA Stories with Alonzo. NWA Stories with Alonzo right here on YouTube. If you like old hip hop stories, if you like history on hip hop, if you like history from the person who was actually there in the room, check out NWA Stories with Lonzo every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
I remember they was dressed like LL Cool J. They was supposed to do the song, and then they started disrespecting Compton. My brother got a Jerry curl and this and that, and we like, what? I'm like, hey, bro, that's my little brother. So they was trying to do the song. I was just, and it's kind of vague about what really happened, but I remember this part. They didn't know what a 6-4 was. They didn't know what ganking. He was saying ganking. So they was like, man, we don't want to do this song, because if we go back to the East Coast, they gonna know somebody from California wrote a song for us. So basically, they was getting disrespectful. Me and my brother got up and we was ready to fight them. So they was like, man, we ain't got to do that. We out of here. So then they left. And that's the part of the movie that I said, me and my brother actually got into it with these cats. My brother Kevin and myself. We got into it with them cats. I remember like it was yesterday. And Dre was like, damn, Eazy, what's going on? What your boys come to do? They come to do music, or do they come to gangbang? And Eazy, he said, or Eric, he said, I guess they came to do both. And I remember, and he said, well, now ain't nobody to do the song. And they was like, well, E, won't you try it? Eric, I remember specifically, he said, man, I ain't no motherfucking rapper. I sell dope. I'm a dope dealer. And then we was like, man, try it, Eric, try it. He tried. You know, he was like, nah. And then he grabbed a paper. He was doing it like he was playing bullshit. And he was like, you know, messing up on purpose, basically. And then Dre kept putting it on him. Come on, man, do it like this, do it like that. Next thing you know, he did it. He got mad. He grabbed it. He did it for real. And like the movie said, we all looked and said, man, that shit was hard. We were like cruising down the street in my 6-4, jocking the bitches, slapping the hoe. We was like, damn, E, that shit is hard. We was like, damn, E, that shit is hard.